Hello there. What is here, at least, a very windy and wet afternoon, clearly signalling that summer is over and we are back in term. So I'm Dr. Mike Cosgrave and I coordinate DH1003. So you'll be seeing a fair bit of me this semester. I teach in the module along with Dr. Maureen McCarran, whom you will be seeing in the lab in week 1. And with Mr. Sean Day, who you'll be seeing later in the semester. So I wanted to say a few things by way of introduction in a video which will appear in that empty block there. First of all, I wanted to say a few general things about the module, which I say every year. And the course, the degree as a whole. This is a professional degree. And that's very important. This is not just big school. At the end of your degree, people out of this degree program get serious jobs with technology companies and others in Cork, nationally, sometimes internationally. And in fact, the work placement element, which is a proper paid work placement, it's not a cheap freebie internship, means that in your third year, you will be going out to work in a professional, diverse workplace and be paid money to do it. So that's the good news. Even in these difficult and confusing times, we do prepare and equip our students to be work ready. And the sort of skills that we do of online work and collaborative work and using digital tools to manage knowledge are even more important now. And that learning journey starts here and now. So you need to begin to make that mental adjustment to thinking in terms not just of learning, but of lifelong learning and, the career path that's ahead of you, which will take many varied and interesting turns. I appreciate that's difficult. I didn't really have a plan when I was 18. So if you don't have a plan, that's fine. It's perfectly acceptable to be sitting there looking at this wondering, what am I going to do? Don't worry, things will come together. Most importantly, you will acquire flexible set of skills, which are broadly adaptable and transferable. It will be okay. We will equip you to build the career that you want and the world that you want to live in. Part of that, of course, and a very important part of the professionalism, is that we are building a collaborative learning community, and that must be respectful. There are parts of the internet which are, frankly, a sewer. You need to be very clear that we are not contributing to making that worse. We are contributing to making it better. And it is important for you to realize that as people who are being shaped for a professional qualification, you are expected to behave within our learning community in a professional, respectful, caring way to the people in our learning community. So, stepping outside the bounds of that, particularly on social media, that ill-considered 2 o'clock in the morning tweet about somebody is a really bad idea. And it is one thing which we can and will come down upon quite heavily. It would be a violation of the university's acceptable use practice for digital resources. It would be a violation of the rules for students. And it would obviously go against the ethos of the course which we are trying to build and develop. So we will protect that learning community and protect the integrity of it, and hopefully that won't be necessary, but certainly it's mentioned in the syllabus and in several places, and it is important. That professional integrity and respect towards your fellow students. The other thing that I wanted to say, and I'm sure you've heard it at orientation, is that while we are not your mammies, we are the people that you see most of. And we are not, there's a wide range of supports the university has: disability support, health, students' union, all those other things that you can and should make use of. But at some point in time, if you find yourself with a problem, since we are the people that you see most of and interact most with, you may decide to ask us about it. Within the university's rules, we have limited leeway and fairly strict guidelines on how we can make allowances for things. But certainly if you have a problem, particularly one that's affecting your academic progress, you should not be afraid to bring it to us. We are not doctors and we are not therapists, and we will not practice amateur therapy on your problems, but we will try and listen with a welcoming ear and guide you towards where you can get whatever you need in the university system. So do not be afraid to tap us an email or ask for a face-to-face meeting online to discuss stuff, and we will try and get you through to the end of the program as best we can within the strictures of what the university allows us to do. It's part of being a knowledge community, caring for one another. So how do we start to build that in this course, in this particular module? Well, in the first half of the module, we're going to look at, Dr. Maureen McCarran is going to talk to you a little bit about research questions based on Chapter 3 of The Craft of Research, which is an outstanding book. And we need to think about how you frame research questions. A lot of this module is about research skills, but in order to learn the skills, you need a topic to hang them on. So you need a research question that you're interested in. Okay? And I will share some possibles that I think are important at the moment that you may find interesting. But you certainly, want to think about that, because certainly in the second through like about the 6th weeks of the module when I'm teaching, we will be looking at how you use digital tools to locate and evaluate sources, not just print sources, but the whole spectrum of sources that we find on the internet these days. How to work out which ones are good and bad, truthful and not. How to read those sources for argument. How to annotate them using digital tools in a way that's slightly more sophisticated than just lashing a green highlighter over everything. And how to share that and how to map the arguments. And we'll relate that to the semantic web and to argument mapping. And that will lead you to putting together a literature review on a topic that you're interested in, this topic that's going to be a thread that will tie all these things together. So that's the reading and the research and the analysis part, and then we get to the writing part of the process of reading, analysis, and writing. And I'm going to look at writing across a range of different media. And Dr. McCarran's going to look at academic writing. Whole week on academic writing, and then a week to counterbalance that on the different forms of writing, broadly construed, the different ways we tell a knowledge story. Infographic, podcast, all of those other possibilities, interactive, games and websites. How do we convey a complex issue across a variety of different mediums? And then I will talk a little bit about the research methods, how we will gather other information beyond the print and other sources, how you actually go out in the field and do surveys and interviews, and how you analyze those. And then we will move into the second part of your work, where you will work in groups. And building on the collaborative writing idea, you will, over the last 5 or 6 weeks, produce a number of pieces of collaborative writing. There will be a piece of collaborative writing. There will be a podcast of some sort. There will be a presentation. You will put all these together collaboratively, based on the topics that you choose in the first week or 2 of the course. While that is happening, Sean Day will come in and talk about a number of topics. Research ethics, digital ethics, hot button topic, really important these days. If you've seen The Social Dilemma recently, or followed any of the news about social media, you'll realize that ethical use, not just ethical conduct of research, but ethical use of digital resources is important. And while you're crafting your collaborative writing, he will also be taking you through readings and tasks on audience analysis and prototyping. So he'll be getting you to think about the people you're designing this stuff for. What sort of people are they? What is their user stories? What are their expectations of user interface? How will they react to the stuff you're creating? So at the end of the module, you will have a portfolio. Every week you will have done some readings. For a lot of these things, I have readings on which I'll set discussion prompts and practical tasks. So you will have a collection of stuff that builds from week to week on the basis of continuous assessment up to the literature review, which you'll write about 6 weeks in, short literature review on your research topic. Through the second half, you'll continue doing the week-to-week work with Sean Day, while I guide you and help you manage your time through the collaborative projects. At the end, you'll gather all this in a single document, all your postings you'll take off Blackboard or Canvas and put them together, along with copies of the digital artifacts that you've made, and a final reflection, where you'll gather together in less than a page, ideally about a half page, what you are taking away from the course, what you feel you've learned, and what you think you want to do to build on it. This is important. It's important that you grab this while it's fresh in your mind and set it down there so that when you're going for your placements and your placement interviews in about 2 years' time, somebody says, well, what did you learn? You will have already got some of the answer there and be able to say, well, I learned these things and they're useful in this way. It allows you to take ownership of your professional development. So I will obviously be available to answer questions on that and fill in the details. You will get a sense of how it goes once we're a week or two into the module. It is different. There is an expectation that you will work from week to week. It is continuous assessment. It builds up from week to week. It is your learning. And that is what is important, your learning journey. So that represents a different approach to what many of you will have been exposed to and what you will have experienced. And I hope you enjoy it. People generally do. We have fun in all our courses every year. And that's an important part of the experience. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And as I say, it is very different, but within a week or two you'll have gotten the flow of it, and it'll just roll along nicely from week to week.